Hey! Welcome to Generation Rise, the podcast with Marcus Bell. Thank you so much, Rise family, for joining me here again. I appreciate your time for coming in and checking me out one more time. Listen, Rise family, as we are in the midst of March Madness right now, the midst of NFL free agency, the NBA trade deadline is upon us. This time really got me thinking about something this weekend, actually the last 2 weeks, about money, right? So I know we're in the culture right now as everybody's trying to get to the bag, got to get stacks, got to get the money. This time really made me think about, and over the last week or two, I've had the same line playing in my head, nonstop almost. And the line comes from a song by Outkast and the rapper Andre 3000. And in this particular song that I'm talking about, he had a line, and it said, "Wealth is the word, riches around the corner from the curb." Wealth is the word, riches around the corner from the curb. Now, it's really got me thinking about money. Like I said, so March Madness, we're talking about tons of money that's being generated for the universities involved in the tournament. And then if you're paying attention in March Madness right now, there's a little bit of a protest going on with the hashtag not NCAA property, in which the NCAA kind of owns the likeness and rights of the NBA players right now the NCAA players right now, because athletes, scholarship athletes, and athletes in general cannot profit off of their likeness and things like that right now. So that's another conversation for another time. NFL free agency is going on. Dak Prescott just got a huge contract, and there are a bunch of other people that are on the move right now and getting big contracts. The NBA trade deadline is in the midst right now, so there are going to be some other guys that are making money. So this time has really got money on my mind. And like I said, the line that keeps playing in my head is wealth is the word, riches around the corner from the curb. And I really want to break this down a little bit because I've been wanting to talk about money for a little while now with you guys. And what time better than right now? So the first thing I want to do is that I know being rich and being wealthy are oftentimes used interchangeably. But in my mind, they are pretty different, right? So for me, and by definition really, rich means having an abundance of something. That could be money, that can be any particular resource. We're talking about money, gold, oil, that type of thing. But the thing about being rich in any particular thing is that when that particular thing, whether it's money, whether it's a particular natural resource, whatever it is gone, it's gone, right? If it's not managed, it just goes away. And then you're not able to tap into that particular resource anymore. So there are a ton of professional athletes, entertainers, things like that, and they make a ton of money. They make millions and millions of dollars, but some of those people end up being broke after making so much money. Those people are rich for a while, but if that money, if the things that they've tapped into are not grown and developed, they're just rich, and then they deplete those things. So for me, rich is all about, if you do not develop it, it doesn't grow, and it eventually depletes. So this brings me to what it means to be wealthy. Wealthy, like rich, is having an abundance of something. Like I said, any one of those things, money, oil, gold, anything like that. But the big difference between being rich and being wealthy is that there is sustainability in being wealthy, which means that it can be passed on, it can be grown, it can be developed so that it can be transitioned over time, right? And then also, when you are wealthy, you make your particular resource work for you so that it can grow, it can develop, it can morph into other things. So I want to challenge all of my Rise family. as you're going out and you're talking about getting the bag and you're trying to get to the money, make sure that the money that you're trying to get to or the resource you're trying to get to, you are doing things to make it develop, to make it grow, to make it sustain you over a lifetime. And actually, you should be working to have it sustain you not just for your lifetime, but for generations to come. One of my goals has always been and continues to be is that I want to establish a standard in my family of generational wealth. And what does generational wealth mean? Generational wealth means that the things that I do, I will be able to, my kids' will be able to profit off of them. So I want to establish generational wealth. Actually, the Bible actually says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, right? So that's that idea of generational wealth. Building something so much that you can transition it down for people below you, people behind you, people that are connected to you will be able to profit, will be able to eat off of the work that you've put in, the things that you've generated, the things that you've built. Now, what I want to make sure I make clear, Rise family, is that in my mind, while wealth is oftentimes looked at from a financial lens, from a money lens, I think that wealth can take on many forms outside of just money. So I believe that there is wealth in experience. You can have a wealth in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You can have a wealth in relationships and connections. You can have a wealth in health. You know, you can have a wealth in just about anything. And the wealth and the information and the way that you use those resources can be grown, can be developed, and can be passed on over time. So here's another thing that I want to explain, kind of the difference between rich people or rich things and wealthy things. And I'll use money as this kind of example. Rich people end up throwing money at things. So I mentioned, you know, how a lot of athletes and people, entertainers, they make money, they get riches, and then they end up broke. And a lot of those people end up broke because they are looking to make investments. So they may try to invest in real estate. They may try to start their own restaurant. They may throw money at other people's ideas and things like that. But the problem is if you just throw money at it, but you don't actually invest your time, you don't invest your energy, you don't invest into learning whatever business it is that you're throwing money at, or you don't learn the ins and outs of it, you're not fully investing in it. You're just throwing money at it. Wealthy people actually invest the time, the energy, the resources to learn the businesses that they're a part of so that they can learn from the mistakes that they make, and that they can learn better ways of doing things. They can adjust the way that they're doing things. They can always morph, and they can always have flexibility in the way that they're doing things to adjust to different times, different eras, different movements in the market. So people that are wealthy see the value in actually investing time, investing money, investing energy, investing resources, and sowing seeds into the things that they want to see grow, want to see develop, the things that they want to be able to pass down and grow and develop over time. So, Rise family, like I said, I encourage you to want to get to the bag. That's cool, but invest in whatever it is that you're trying to grow. Whatever it is, whatever resource it is that you're trying to develop. You know, and here's the thing. Like I said, anything that is left and is not maintained, is not grown, it will eventually deplete. Think about times in history like the Great Migration, when people were moving from one part of the company for different jobs and things. And, you know, I know in places like Chicago and Detroit and Midwestern states. At one point, a lot of people migrated to those states for kind of these car factory jobs and manufacturing jobs and things like that. But over time, those jobs ended up being phased out because of advances in technology and things like that. And then those jobs ended up being depleted, and a lot of those factories are now closed down. So there wasn't enough flexibility in those particular resources that allowed it to sustain itself over time. Those jobs were not able to sustain themselves over time. Okay, Rise family? So another thing I want you to think about, and I'm going to use the example of a professional athlete. I'm going to use the example of Arnold Palmer. So if you don't know who Arnold Palmer is one of the greatest golfers ever. Arnold Palmer spent 52 years on the PGA Tour. Okay? Now, some of my Rise family may recognize the name but not know who he is, because his name is oftentimes synonymous with a drink, the half and half. Half lemonade, half iced tea. It's called an Arnold Palmer a lot of times, right? But this particular person is one of the greatest golfers ever. Now, the thing about Arnold Palmer is he made, like, let's say, $3.5 million in earnings from his PGA Tour time. But during his time in the PGA and after, Arnold Palmer has designed over 300 golf courses around the world. So from his wealth of experience in playing on golf courses, he was then able to transition that into designing and building golf courses, right? In addition to designing and building golf courses around the world, Arnold Palmer licenses his name out to have his name associated with particular golf courses, which bring in profit and money. So he's building off of that wealth of experience and then those wealth of connections and relationships to bring in more financial gain into his family, right? Arnold Palmer has a relationship with the watch company Rolex that he's had for more than 50 years, right? That's that wealth of connection, that wealth of relationship. Not just that, he has agreements with Arizona Tea. He has a relationship with MasterCard. He has branded apparel that is licensed and is sold around the world. So Arnold Palmer drew off of the wealth of his talent in golf, but then also learned so many different industries, and he was able to build off of the wealth of information and things that he's gained over time to continue to build and grow and develop his own brand, his own identity, and his own empire, really. In addition to the golf courses and the marketing type of things, he also has his own charity, Arnie's Army, and then he also has other charitable things that he was involved in, like the Arnold Palmer Medical Center that is in Orlando, Florida. So he invested and sowed seed into other things also. It wasn't just about his financial gain, but his financial gain also was used to help bring other people up. His medical center focuses on kids and things like that and helping other people get better. So he saw the value in sowing seed into others, sowing seed into other causes, not just about himself, but that's that wealth of connection. That's that wealth of knowing that you have to sow seed to reap a harvest, right? Now, the other thing about Arnold Palmer is that Arnold Palmer passed away a few years ago, and his will was divided mostly up, split between his two daughters. And I did a little bit of research, and the heirs of his estate, his daughters split about $40 million off of the licensing deals that continue to go on from when he was alive. So the licensing deals on the golf courses, the licensing deals for Arizona Tea, the licensing deals for Rolex and things like that, that stuff goes to his estate, which is a split between his daughters. So this is what I was talking about in terms of establishing generational wealth. His daughters are able to reap the harvest from the seeds that he sowed throughout his life. And then when his daughters pass on, then they will be able to will those things to their children, and then their children from there. So he has been able to establish a generational wealth in his family that will last for generations to come. People will be able to eat off of the work and the sweat of his back because of the way that he was able to structure his business dealings, structure his world, structure his empire. Now, I was watching the I Am Athlete podcast, and there was a person on the I Am Athlete podcast by the name of Adewale Agunleye, right? And he's a former NFL player, but now he's like one of the wealth managers for athletes in the UBS financial services empire, right? And in this particular conversations with some former NFL players, they were talking about money. And something that he said that really stood out to me was, when you're thinking about money, as you bring in money, whether it's $100,000 or $1, you should always be thinking about it in what he calls the 3 L's: liquidity, longevity, and legacy. So your liquidity is thinking about right now, right? Your longevity is thinking about kind of short-term goals or short-term needs. And then your legacy is about the long-term, your future, like I said, the generational type things. So he says when you bring in money, you should always divide it up in these kind of buckets, the liquidity, longevity, and legacy, so that you're always preparing for where you are right now, what you're about to do, and what's further on down the road. I think that can be applied to beyond just money. When you're dealing with relationships, what's working right now, what's going to work in the near future, and how can this relationship grow and develop to establish a legacy, things that can be built on for time to come. The same thing with just about anything, experience, and so on. So Rise family, I encourage you, I implore you, as you're going out and you're growing in your world and you're developing and you're experiencing different things, soak in all the wealth of knowledge, all the wealth of information, all the wealth of financial gain and everything like that. But make sure that you're soaking in to gain the wealth from it, not just to be rich from it. You can be rich in talent, but the talent is going to take you so far. You can be rich in money, but money alone will only take you so far. You can still be rich, but then you can turn around and be broke next week based on the way that you're doing things. Wealth is the word. Riches around the corner from the curb. Listen, Rise family, thank you so much again for checking me out. I appreciate all of your love. I appreciate all of your support. I know that I'll be revisiting money and wealth and different financial principles again sometime soon, but this was something that was really on my heart and has been on my heart for a while. So I hope this is something that is helpful to you, and I hope that this seed that I'm trying to sow into you will reap a harvest in your lives and for generations to come as well. If you'd like to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at RiseENT and the number 1, Instagram, The Rise Generation, YouTube Generation Rise. You can check out my company website at www.therisegeneration.org. Thank you so much for checking me out. God bless you. I love you. Now go be great.